In a destructive ego state, so in the lowest levels of development, the sexual function will almost surely be greatly disturbed. And here we're talking about the ego states of compulsion and destruction. Or if you use the Rizzo-Hudson models, these are the levels 8 and 9 and partially also 7. So in these states or levels, we're not able to function normally. So this will logically have a major impact on sexual function. Let's start by looking at the sexual act. Some people may not have any issues with foreplay, but others may experience this growing excitement as uncomfortable or painful. So for example, the lubrication or the lack of it, the erection, the increased blood circulation in the genitals, and so on may not feel well. Or in many other cases, the person may actually not be able to get sexually aroused and there will be no sexual act whatsoever. There may also not be an urge to penetrate or an urge to be penetrated. And this is especially the case with people who suffer from narcissism, satyriasis, and nymphomania. And it can also be combined with a passive attitude sometimes. But on the other side, men with sadist traits may not feel the urge to penetrate, but an urge to pierce the partner. But also some women may have an aggressive approach. Furthermore, movements may be mechanistic, violent, or quick, especially among those who are not able to feel the friction of the genitals. And people in these low levels of development are often not able to be aroused by their partner or by the sexual act. And instead they need porn or they need to fantasize about others in order to get and remain sexually aroused. And in these unhealthy ranges, people may have major problems achieving orgasm. They're not able to surrender to the act. And even applying lots of tension and friction to most sensitive parts of the genitals may not necessarily lead to an orgasm. But some men may, on the contrary, actually suffer from premature ejaculations. Yet some other people may experience the orgasm not as pleasurable, not just physically, but even more importantly, psychologically. A common problem here is that men do not want to penetrate completely and that women do not want to be, or they do not want to receive completely. So the orgasm is purely genital and so it reduces, but it does not fully eliminate the sexual tension. And as a result, it feels as if something is not complete yet, although there was an orgasm. And in some cases, for example, in the cases of satyriasis and nymphomania, the level of excitement does not decrease after orgasm. And in other cases, there may be a sensation of exhaustion or a feeling of disgust, guilt, or indifference to the partner. And in case a person fantasized to maintain an illusion, there will very often be a feeling of disappointment. In these states or levels, we're not able to maintain normal relationships. And as a matter of fact, we can't really talk about the relationship with a partner because there's no self-awareness and a person is not aware of his or her own actions. So here, there's a high likelihood for objectifying the partner. And it may even lead to some kind of dehumanization. The partner is just a tool for gratification, but there is no true human connection or interaction. And this can even lead to sexual abuse, rape, violence, and real sexual sadism, whereby pain is inflicted on the partner. And the person does not listen to stop words or safe words in the case of BDSM. This is very often the case with people who have a borderline, antisocial, or narcissistic personality disorder. We cannot exactly tie these disorders to types, but it probably also does not amaze anyone that an unhealthy 8 may force sex upon someone. Also very interesting and common is that some people may objectify and dehumanize themselves, and it means they allow themselves to be abused and still forgive the partner. Or they may seek sexual masochism, where pain is inflicted upon them. In this level, people feel so disconnected from oneness, unity, the source, God, or whatever you want to call it, that they have a huge inner emptiness. In fear, people are able to use different types of gratification like food, alcohol, drugs, sex, gambling to temporarily fill this emptiness and to find temporarily relief. However, in compulsion and destruction, there is no temporary relief. On the contrary, the attempt for gratification is actually making the emptiness even bigger. So the urge for seeking gratification gets bigger and bigger, but there is less and less gratification. However, the person is unable to stop this vicious circle and he starts creating harm for himself. This search for gratification becomes destructive and prevents the person from leading a normal life within society. And the compulsive use of alcohol, drugs, or sex may lead to socially inappropriate behavior that destroys relationships, destroys one's financial state, destroys one's health, and so on. So basically, sex addiction is just like any other addiction, but sex is the drug of choice. It can take different forms like masturbating 4 or 5 times a day, compulsively seeking new sex partners, watching porn for hours and hours in a row, and so on. But I want to make an important remark about sex addiction though. Very often, sexually repressed people may accuse their partner with a normal sex drive of being a sex addict. And in reality, these people were just not able to get their sexual needs met at home, so they started looking for sexual gratification elsewhere. And indeed, this may create major problems and harm the primary relationship, but this is not sex addiction. As a matter of fact, in this ego state, many people are actually not able to engage into a sexual act, and almost all suffer from sexual dysfunctions. The absence of lubrication makes intercourse painful, or the lack of an erection makes penetration impossible. And this is where we enter the field of clinical sexology. Again, also in the ego state of fear, there may be a need for the intervention of a clinical sexologist, but the core of this field is here in the unhealthy states. It's also important to understand that people within the ego state of compulsion or destruction, but also some already in the ego state of fear, are taking antidepressants. These are SSRIs most often, or selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors. And these medicines may be extremely good in handling depression, but they have a major impact on one's sex life. Most people using antidepressants experience a loss or a reduced desire for sex. And many have a reduced ability or completely lose the ability to achieve orgasm. Becoming aroused may be difficult, and many women have problems with lubrication. Also, many men may not be able to achieve or maintain an erection. And this is especially the case with the antidepressant Paxil, which has a very negative effect here. So people should really consult the side effects of antidepressants with their psychiatrist. I do not want to get into the details of the different sexual dysfunctions too much, because this is really a field for sex therapists, psychiatrists, and psychotherapists. I just briefly wanted to show how the passion of our type can lead to sexual dysfunction. The reason is that sex therapists tend to treat dysfunctions with medicines, but in reality it's more of a psycho-spiritual problem. An utter absence of connection with oneness, unity, the divine, or God.